Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to My Little Pony Friendship is Magic Season 8, Episode 16. So, yeah, this episode was another one that was released early in Australia. I don't know if they're going to continue this trend, but we'll see. Now, I know absolutely nothing about this episode. Unlike the last one where I did know it was a heartwarming focused one, I know nothing here. So yeah, that's a lot more positive. I haven't heard anyone talking about this one, which is a little surprising. Like, I don't know. People are talking about, like, episodes 14 and 15, but not this one right now. And, I mean, I'm happy about that because it means I don't get spoiled, but either way, I am recording this on Friday. You are seeing this on Saturday. So yeah, there is that. Basically today, in your point of view, Saturday, I am off at this event that I was invited to called Transgender Pride in the Park. It's basically a big park party barbecue thing for trans people and their allies. So yeah, I was invited by the person who's behind the transgender Michigan group and everything. She's been running this kind of stuff for years and years, probably decades and stuff. She invited me and everything, and I managed to get a ride, so it's like, yeah, why not? Of course. So unfortunately, that means my hero will most likely be a day or two late again. But we'll see. We'll see. Either way, we're getting to MLP again on time because pre-recordings. So yeah, I know nothing about it. I don't know who wrote it. I don't know what it focuses around. I don't know what character is going to be the focus of attention here. I know nothing, which is how I prefer it. So yeah, we're just going to get right into this because there's not really anything more to talk about. So far this season's been mostly hits, but there's been a few misses as well. The last two episodes after the hiatus ended, we had a big miss, like the biggest miss in the season so far, the easily worst episode of Season 8, and then one of its best right after. So this one, who knows where it's going to go. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. Okay, and we are back, and we will begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Okay, so before I forget about this, I want to talk about this part first, the ending. So it's like, how did FiM Se8 get a copy of your book anyway? And then right at that moment, Cozy Glow comes in, and I know what that's implying. I know that that's implying that Cozy Glow did it. And people have been saying that since her initial episode, Marks for Effort, people have been saying that she's clearly evil, that she's scheming stuff, and the problem is, I don't see it. Well, in Marks for Effort, there was nothing to imply that she was actually evil and scheming something. There were a couple moments that showed her, that looked like she was manipulating them, but in a way she was, but not for any bad reason. She was basically trying to use them to help herself get further in the school, and eventually she wanted to help them in return. And by doing so, she did it the completely wrong way, but still. There was nothing to actually hint that she was doing anything, like, really devious. Like, anything, like, evil, again. It was just like, oh, she was being a little manipulative to get what she needed to get from the CMC. To say that she's, like, evil or something, it is silly. And now this episode's kind of implying that idea. So the thing I'm thinking of here is that they either are going to go that route, which would be completely stupid and horrible, or they are going to they're kind of playing with the fans here, and that they're not actually going to go this route. Because again, there's nothing to hint that she's evil, except this one little thing in this episode, kind of insinuating that she was the one who gave Flim and Flam the books. There's nothing in Marks for Effort. Nothing. And to have her be evil at this point without actually building it up, like without actually having some stuff to build it up into, what's it called? To, foreshadow, that's the word. To foreshadow that fact, it won't work. Because the thing I think they're trying to go for, if this is what they're going to go for, is to make it a surprise. But in order to make it a surprise, in order to make it a big shocking revelation, you either have to make it believable that it could happen, which is not here, or you have to foreshadow it in little ways so that when people look back on it, they think, oh yeah, this was actually something. But it still takes them off guard when it happens initially. Those are the only two ways. It has to, if it is going to come out of nowhere, it has to be believable, and it's not believable in this situation, not at all. And there's nothing to back it up, so you can't take that route either. So I'm sorry, but if they do go with this idea, I'm gonna be really disappointed. It's lazy, to be honest. It's lazy. It's poorly. It would be poorly written, unless there are going to be more episodes that show Cozy Glow and kind of give that idea a little more and kind of foreshadow things a little more. Then it would still be very poorly done, because it should have been foreshadowed since her initial debut and everything, and every time she showed up. She showed up in one of the other episodes as a background role when the school was there. I think it was one of the past two episodes, actually. But either way, since her initial debut, there was nothing, as I said. The scheming thing, the manipulation thing that she did do had nothing to do with anything like that, and honestly, to see it like that, you're projecting. You're projecting what you want to believe onto something that is clearly not there. And that is clearly explained away by the episode itself as her trying to do other things and going for other things. And then in this in the other episode she appeared in as background role, I mean, there was nothing. It's just like, oh hey, she's there. And this episode, it kind of insinuates the idea, but doesn't actually give us any real proof. Like, that's all it does in this episode. It's like, oh, I wonder how Flim and Flam got a copy of your book in the first place. All of a sudden, Cozy Glow enters. She doesn't actually do anything maniacal. She doesn't do anything manipulative or scheming. She does nothing wrong. That's the problem. You can't just, like, insinuate that someone might be evil without them actually doing something that could foreshadow that. Just a little bit of something would be good. But they haven't done that. And I'm sorry, but I've looked back on those episodes time and time again, many times. Like, I've heard other people talk about them, and there's nothing there. There's nothing there. But I'm not going to rant on that forever. Because this episode, I mean, was a good episode. Not great, I'd say, but good. I liked the concept, the idea of Flim and Flam working with Chancellor Naysay to open up a friendship university as a rival school to Twilight's. And I like how that they don't, they never actually put down Twilight School. They actually say multiple times, Twilight School is great. Like, it's a great place to be, but we're better. It's not putting her down, it's inflating themselves above her, which is valid. It's a valid thing to do. If you're saying that, like, your competition, like, yeah, my competition's great, it's just we're going to take it a step beyond, that's fine. There's nothing, like, even evil about doing that. And their friendship lessons were basically just Twilight, so they were technically good lessons. The only scam is that they were forcing the students to pay for the worksheets, which is definitely a scam and definitely wrong. And that's the only big problem I had with it. I like the parts in this that showed Star Swirl traveling Equestria and learning new friendship stuff with other ponies. We saw Emerald Green. We saw Tree Hugger. I want Tree Hugger to return, like, in an actual, real way. I like seeing her in her little cameo appearances and stuff. Like, there was one episode where she was acting, like, as a model for a bunch of painters and stuff. I think the Salvador Dali pony was in that episode too, actually. But I want to actually see her legitimately return as a character again. Have speaking roles, have a part to play, you know. But it was still great to see her again anyways, and great to see that Star Swirl's hanging out with her now. That's fun. I really enjoyed the return of Chancellor Nacy. I wanted to see him return for so long, and I think they've perhaps waited a little long. I think he should have returned maybe by episode 10. But this isn't the first time they've waited quite a long time to really get to something. I mean, the entire Pillars stories really should have been sprinkled throughout the last season a little better, instead of just kind of thrown all at the last half. But it's not that big a deal. We know Nacy is going to return again. We know this isn't the last of him, but I like the way he's also trying to get back at Twilight and all. He's not, like, doing anything super evil or whatnot. It's like, oh, I'm going to help these guys start a rival school. We're going to do things by the book. We're going to do things for ponies only. Not for these dangerous creatures who will weaponize friendship again. I love that. I love that idea, because it's funny, because people have talked about how friendship is kind of weaponized in this show. The fact that they use the literal power of friendship as a weapon against some villains, as an example. So it's like, yeah, friendship has been weaponized by the main six in the show, and I like how they kind of throw a subtle joke in there about that. But I like that he's doing it this way. Because, one, it's realistic. In real life, when you have bigoted assholes like this, they don't, like, well, some of them do, but a lot of them don't end up going around doing, like, this evil, horrible stuff. I mean, yes, there are some of those out there who will go around killing people or attacking people and using their bigoted views as a way to justify it. That happens a lot. I mean, and a lot of people that are on the negative end of it are, like, trans people, the LGBT community in general. A lot of liberals are attacked constantly, especially nowadays. Like, last year and this year, there have been so many attacks on marginalized people. Black people have been arrested for opening up their own businesses, for having a barbecue on their own lawn. They've had the police called on them for going to a freaking public swimming pool. All this racist stuff, and it's like, there's been, like, horrible, like, attacks on people. There's been people killed. And that's horrible, and that happens a lot, but the majority of these horrible bigots don't do it that way. The majority of them attack in a different way. They attack more subtly. They attack with words, with propaganda, with political smear campaigns. Basically, they'll invalidate the people who believe differently than them and try to puff up their own horrible bigoted beliefs as American and as being these great things. And I'm really not trying to make this super political, but let's be honest, it is. When people say, oh, I don't want things to be too political, it's like, then you should probably just ignore everything. Because life is political. Politics are a integral part of how life is lived. Politics dictate how life is lived and how certain people are able to live their lives, how people are able to just live upon their inalienable rights. Politics affect everything, and to say like, oh, I don't want to bring politics into it is stupid. It's stupid because it makes no sense. Politics won't have to be brought into it. They're already a part of it. But either way, that's kind of how Naysay is going about things. He's going about more of the political method. He's not attacking people or anything. He's not forcefully destroying the school. No. He's basically trying to one-up her. He's trying to paint his philosophies, his viewpoints on friendship as better. And that is how most people do that kind of thing. They spread their bigotry by painting it as better, by painting it as more valid, by painting it as more American or more moral. Stuff like that. And it's not. It's very much not. It's wrong in a lot of ways. And yeah, people fall for it. Just like the ponies in this episode fell for it. Just like Star Swirl. Even someone who's very smart in a lot of ways. Very wise. Someone who is a very big name. Even they can fall for that. And that's... I definitely feel what they're trying to say with this character and with this episode. That, yes, this kind of stuff is real, and that anyone can fall for it, but that you need to stand up against it. You need to fight for what you know is right, for what you know is true. And so, it's honestly quite a respectable and timely episode because of that. It teaches us to never stop fighting for what we know is right. To never give up in the face of adversity, even if it would hurt our reputations or whatever. Plus, it's just a fun episode, to be completely fair. The song was fun. The interactions between the characters are fun. It's just entertaining. Like, even going past all of the stuff I mentioned, all of the political stuff, all of the big important commentary on today's world, getting past all of that, this was just a fun episode to watch. It was entertaining, it was funny, it was really silly at points, like, seriously, and I like that Rarity basically got through on her disguise because the Flim Flam brothers and all didn't even know who she was. It's like, she pulls off her disguise, not what was it? Like, Planity? Yeah, Planity. Not Planity, Rarity. And then they're like, who? Because it's like, that disguise fooled them because they didn't know who she was. And then Twilight's disguise only fooled the one pony because he didn't know who they were. But it didn't fool Flim and Flam because they knew her. So, I like that. It's a nice touch. And then we had just the location itself just seemed really interesting. Like, the instant you find out it's in Las Pegasus, it's like, why? Why of all places Las Pegasus? And then you start thinking, it's like, wait, why would something be in Las Pegasus that could be a rival school to Twilight's? And then it's like you start thinking about who's in Las Pegasus. And my first thought, like, was actually Gladstone. I think that was his name. The Elvis pony from before that Flim and Flam actually took over for. My first thought was him for some reason. But then thinking of him made me think of, oh wait, Flim and Flam. This could be some kind of scam from them. And it's like, and then when I said it, it's like, oh, it's gonna be Flim and Flam or something, isn't it? And then it ended up being them. And it's like, okay. And I like seeing Flim and Flam return. Some people find them a little annoying, but I actually enjoy them. I think they're fun. They're fun antagonists that never actually learn their lesson, and I like that. Because this is a show that constantly has villains and antagonists get reformed. We've had Trixie reformed, we have Gilda reformed, we've had villains like Discord, I guess you could say reformed. We've had Starlight reformed. It happens all the time. So to have some antagonists stay antagonists, but also continue to make consistent appearances is refreshing. The Flim Flam brothers, I don't think they're ever going to learn. I don't think they're ever going to be redeemed. But I like that. I like that in a way that it's like, it's also in a way realistic, because there are people out there who you're just not going to be able to get through to. I wish they would do that with more previous antagonists. A lot of people really want them to bring Lightning Dust back, and I agree. That would be great. Because Lightning Dust was, let's think about it. She was very cocky and arrogant and really only cared about furthering her own goals, and she was stripped of her badge and forced out of the Wonderbolts Academy after Dash basically got her kicked out. She should have a grudge against Rainbow, and we've never seen her since. There have been so many opportunities, and they've just never taken them. Yet they've had Gilda return, they've had Trixie return and end up becoming reformed, and it's like, why not Lightning Dust as well, right? But either way, yeah, this was a fun episode. I've been talking about this for a while, so I'm gonna close things out. This was a really fun episode. I really enjoyed it. I will have to see it probably a few more times to really get my final thoughts on it. But it was definitely enjoyable, and even if I don't like it as much the second or third time, it's very unlikely that I'll end up really disliking it. That's happened. I can only think of one example of when that has happened with the show, where there's been an episode that I really enjoyed on my first viewing, but on more viewings I really started to hate. And that episode would be Do Princesses Dream of Magic Sheep, which has an absolutely horrifying moral and is extremely destructive and dangerous. Silver Quill and Josh Scorcher explain it a lot better than I ever could, but it's really terrible. Like, seriously. And the episode, I mean, even in that situation, I still find the episode fun and enjoyable to a point, especially all the dream shenanigans. But in the end, it's like, it really just bothers me. And I really just don't like it anymore as an episode. So that's like the only example. Like, I doubt this will be another one of those. Not by any means. But I really do think I'll continue to enjoy it, even if a couple more issues pop out here and there on further viewings. But tell me in the comments below, what did you think of, I think the episode was just called Friendship University. What did you think of the return of the Flim Flam brothers, and the return of Chancellor Naysay, and the return of Star Swirl the Bearded? 3 big returns in this one. What did you think of all that? What did you think of the moral about continuing to follow your gut and stand up for what you know is wrong? And what do you think of the real-life parallels this episode definitely covers? Tell me your thoughts on all of that and more in the comments below, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.
And though you've come through many obstacles, shed tears along the way, you're still standing, live, love, laugh.